Did President Trump's health just expose how broken modern healthcare has become? And why is the idea of preventative MRIs triggering some doctors and politicians? Is it actually true that preventative MRIs don't exist? Or is that kind of gatekeeping the reason healthcare in America is expensive, confusing, and hostile towards regular people? Also, is libertarianism supposed to be a practical guide for real human behavior, or has it turned into a rigid philosophy that collapses the moment you introduce family, survival, or basic moral judgments? And why does a debate involving Dave Smith perfectly show why libertarians struggle to win elections, build coalitions, or even agree on what real success would look like? Later, we discuss the Libertarian Party. Should they be running candidates like they are in Ohio just to run candidates? Or should we be willing to support someone like a Vivek Ramaswamy when it actually moves liberty forward in the real world? And then we wrap up today why Atlanta Falcons running back Bijan Robinson is getting dragged on the internet over a childhood football game. And what does it say about free speech, cultural power, and modern outrage society? Yeah, let's talk about that. Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in not sunny, actually kind of cold, Eastern Indiana. The Brian Nichols Show is powered by the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle. So if you want to learn more about Cardio Miracle and its amazing benefits like lowering blood pressure, helping you improve your pump at the gym, and lowering that resting heart rate, stick around. We'll talk about that later in today's episode. Or if you're really curious, go ahead, scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or simply head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS, and you'll know you're in the right spot, because first, you're going to see a little note saying you're shopping with Brian Nichols, which means when you go to checkout, you'll get 15% off your order. One more time, cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. But jumping into today's episode, we go from heart health to just general health, and talking today about preventative MRIs to start the show. So first, we're going to go ahead and check out this clip. We have Carolyn Leavitt. She's saying that President Trump just had a preventative MRI as a part of his normal health evaluation, and immediately Representative Kelly Morrison from Minnesota, who is also a physician, she jumps in and says there's no such thing as a preventative MRI. Let's go ahead and take a listen.
As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed. The purpose of this imaging is preventative.
Doctor here. There's no such thing as a preventive MRI. That's not a thing. MRIs also usually are not standard practice, and they're not typically used for screening. An MRI is an expensive imaging study used to diagnose injuries or investigate symptoms that are concerning for a serious condition. So the White House can lie, and Trump can claim he doesn't know what they were scanning, but that's just the truth.
And like, this is COVID all over again, right? You're not allowed to ask those questions. You're not allowed to have that thought because you're not an expert. So shut up, because I'm an expert. It is exhausting. This conversation, you can see it's not a medical conversation, right? This goes back to what we were saying. This is a gatekeeping conversation. Now, no one is claiming that MRIs are magic crystal balls, right? What this is specifically talking about in this entire overview of it, using MRIs for preventative, is, first of all, it's advanced screening to see, from an executive level healthcare perspective. Like, people who have money, they're going to want to see, hey, even though I don't have any symptoms for anything, I want to see what's going on inside the old body here, right? So this is happening today, just so we're all on the same page. When you look at executive physicals, they have almost always, well, not always, in the past, several years at least, they've used advanced imaging here. And sure, don't call it preventative healthcare, call it early detection, whatever. But there was a post over on Twitter that really highlighted this in a really good overview. I'm going to butcher the guy's name. It's Chamath Palihapitiya. I good God bless me, I guess. I don't know how to pronounce that guy's last name. I gave it the old college try though. But what he's saying here is most of the time, MRIs in this asymptomatic use case find nothing, right? A very, very, very small percentage of the time currently they're catching something early, and early enough to save somebody's life. But, and this is where, from the libertarian free market perspective, as adoption increases, and currently, right, as more and more executives are using this type of technology for advanced screening, it's going to dramatically lower the cost, which in this tweet of his, he highlights how it's gone down like $2,000 to $3,000, I believe, for a full body MRI. It used to cost like $5,000 to $8,000, I think it was, 5 or 6 years ago, and now it's around $2,000 to $3,000. So think about it. As adoption increases, right, you're going to see costs continue to decline because you're going to have a larger market. So there's going to be higher supply. People are going to say, oh, we want to invest over here because there's a more and more consumer base. So that naturally is going to increase competition, and that's going to lower costs. It's going to push costs down. And yes, you're going to have now a larger sample size. So the more folks, and this is my humble opinion, the more folks in the middle class, and as it gets more and more cost effective, the lower classes that you start to now bring to the table to have MRIs that are preventative, right, in nature, but for a lot of this just asymptomatic screening, I think we're going to find that there's going to be folks who appear outwardly healthy or just in general blood tests, they're not showing anything of red flags, that this advanced screening using MRIs in asymptomatic people will just by sample size, show more folks who have these issues that aren't manifesting outwardly yet, whether that's a manifestation of a physical ailment or something inner, right, that you're dealing with. This is going to be huge, I think, because you're going to find more and more folks who are having issues that otherwise just would have gone undiagnosed, and then when they pass away, it's from an undiagnosed medical issue. So I think it's a great idea. I think, this is an area where not only do we see free markets starting to answer the question, like, how do we help prevent healthcare issues before they become issues right here, advanced screening. And as the volume goes up again, the competition is going to increase and the tech is going to improve, right? And that number is going to keep on dropping. And on top of that, you're going to see employers are going to want to start like saying, hey, my employee base, I got to make sure they're healthy because I don't want to spend uber crazy dollars on their healthcare costs. So you're going to start to see employers sponsoring this. You're going to see probably HSAs saying, hey, let's start using HSA savings accounts towards these different options as well. So this is something that it's going to go away from elitism, right? Which is, I think, the ultimate issue here from the more lefty loonies. And it's going to really help change healthcare for the better. But just going full circle here, right? This isn't an issue that is an issue. This is just another attempt, and this is the ironic part, right? It is another attempt by the exact same people who a year and a half ago pretended that Joe Biden was mentally there, that he had all his faculties. Like, what? Who do you think you are? And by the way, who do you think you're fooling? If you were one of those people who were just going out and saying, yeah, no, Joe Biden, he's 100% with it. As a matter of fact, he keeps me to task, right? Like we heard this on the corporate news constantly. You'd have all these talking heads who'd be like, arf, 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 yeah, Joe Biden, he's so smart, arf, arf, arf. It was laughable how you have so many of these folks on the left who, and not just like the socially progressive left, just I'm using the left in general, the folks who were in that more Democratic camp over the past election cycle, they were much more open to just pretending that everything was fine up until the debate with Joe Biden and Trump, right? That was the moment, just once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. And there were normies. Like I saw on Twitter, you had football players, just business folks, the truest representation of normies, right? Just watching this debate, everybody was watching it and just going, oh my God, what? That's Biden? And there was that one moment in the debate where Trump responds to a Biden just complete mental brain fart and goes, I don't know what he just said. And frankly, I don't think he does either. And that's how 90% of the folks watching it probably felt as well. But when you look at that from this is the normies, right? When they look at this, there was two things. Like, number one, there's no way he can be the nominee, right? There's just no way. But number two, he's currently the president. And remember, this is back in the summer of 2024. So Biden's currently the president today, and he doesn't have any mental faculties, it seems. So who's running the country? And that was the question that all of a sudden popped up. It's like, who's actually like steering the ship here? And the answer was the administrative state, the bureaucracies, right? They were the ones for basically 4 years who were just running our country with no CEO, no president, no commander-in-chief. It's bonkers. And that right there scared so many people to go vote for Trump. And that's what we saw. But going full circle, this is a non-story, right? This is just a Democrat congresswoman trying to make herself, from Minnesota, have some type of narrative that she can change the topic around from the Somali fraud case that's happening up there, most likely, right? But no, this is a non-story. It's absolutely goofball. It's amazing how so many folks on the left, they approach politics almost like a religion, which leads us to our next topic here, where Dave Smith was arguing or debating, rather, the non-aggression principle, and just libertarians, how they have taken libertarianism and the non-aggression principle and all the different principles therein and have created this like pseudo religion. So we're going to play a clip here over on X. This is part of the Biblical Anarchy podcast, I believe. Let me pull this up here. It's our good buddy Jacob Winograd. I was actually over on his show from the Libertarian Christian Institute. This is over on the Green Room, which again, yes, is part of the Libertarian Christian Institute. So we're going to go ahead and pick this up. It is Dave Smith. Jacob Winograd is the moderator, and I forget who is the guy he's debating. Zulu, I think, Liquid Zulu. I don't know who this person is. His Twitter says creating an anarcho-capitalist content. None of my opinions are my own. They were encrypted by my MK Ultra handler. So this is who Dave Smith was debating here over on Jacob Winograd's podcast. Let's go ahead and take a listen. All right, it's the holidays, which means we're all doing that annual dance, pretending that we love this time of year, while secretly we're running on stress, sugar, and whatever's left of our sanity. You've got the office parties, the family gatherings, the flights, the long lines, the weird cookie that Aunt Carol made, and on top of that, the weather's colder, you're eating heavier, you're sleeping less, and your immune system is basically sending you texts saying like, hey buddy, I'm not okay. And let's be real, December has a way of exposing everything your body has already been struggling with. Low energy, amplified. Brain fog, doubled. Circulation, frozen like your car windshield. And don't even get me started on inflammation after you've had your fifth helping of just a little more at dinner. See, that's where Cardio Miracle comes in. It gives your body that one thing the holidays steal the most, nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is actually what helps the blood flow. It helps oxygen reach your cells, support your immune system, and helps your body bounce back from the stress, the sugar, the travel, the cold weather, all of it. And I've been drinking it every day, morning and night, because I don't have time to crash halfway through the month. And Cardio Miracle keeps me steady, clear-headed, energized, and able to actually enjoy the holidays instead of just survive them. So if you want to give yourself the gift of not feeling like you're worn out at Christmas, just go ahead and scan the QR code over my shoulder, click that little link in the show notes, or visit cardiomiracle.com/TBNS to grab yours. And by the way, you'll get 15% off at checkout. And now, let's get back to the show.
The person you love the most in the world was going to get tortured to death, and you could steal a penny or a dollar to stop it from happening. Like, I thought the whole call was that you will bite that bullet to my face. So like, are you actually saying you believe that and you would do that with someone you love?
Yes, I believe it would be immoral to steal a penny or rape a baby or any other aggression. I believe that would be immoral, yes.
No, that's not my question. I asked, would you do it? I'm asking, my question is so clear.
I don't think you should do that.
So you'd allow the person you love the most to be tortured to death before you stole a dollar so that you could be committed to your philosophical principle of it always being wrong to steal a dollar, so that you would have a coherent worldview.
Yes.
So
let me
could
go into
feel
why.
good about your own coherent worldview. You'd allow the person you love the most in the world to be tortured to death. That's the position that you want to debate here. And you don't see how maybe someone could think you're just a religious zealot. This is insane.
If you're positing that it's aggression, and I've got to commit aggression, then yes, I would not. And you go higher in order to say,
dude, I don't dislike you enough. Despite the shit you've said about me, I don't dislike you enough to believe that you're telling the truth, dude. Like, I just don't want to believe that.
See this right here. This is what happens when libertarianism stops being a framework for how humans can work together and it turns into a moral religion. The nap was never meant to replace judgment, responsibility, moral reasoning. It was meant to be a framework, a guide of voluntary interaction and how to minimize coercion. But it's not meant to override just basic human reality. And this is why it repels normal people, because when regular people see this, they don't think like, wow, that guy is like, he is so principled. They think this person would let his kids, my kids, starve for abstract principles that I don't understand. Their ideology doesn't live in the real world. These guys are nothing more than just the right-wing versions of communists. And honestly, that reaction is completely rational. Who can blame someone who sees that clip in normie land and just be like, yeah, that is just exactly who I want to align my political affiliation with. Like this mindset doesn't just stay in policy debates, right? This directly bleeds into how libertarians, pardon my expression, but autistically approach elections. And that brings us to my neighbor to the east, the great state of Ohio, the Buckeye State, where Vivek Ramaswamy is currently running for governor of Ohio as a Republican. And I know for lots of libertarians, there's a lot of love, a lot of hate. And some of that hate is, he was talking about going to war with like the cartels over in Mexico when he was running for president, for example. But hey, some pro-liberty positions. He's a big fan of gutting federal agencies. He was one of the actual leading voices in the establishment and framing of Doge back when that first became, it was short-lived, but it became something for a hot, brief second, burned bright, and then just faded away like a supernova. But he is also a big fan of ending just in general foreign interventionism, despite his argument for going after the cartels. But I would say, as a libertarian, a small L libertarian, he's probably in that like 80 to 85%, threshold of libertarian thumbs up, especially relative to other Republicans out there, right? Like who else is more libertarian that's elected currently? There's Thomas Massey, obviously, Rand Paul, is it Tim Burchett? Anyone else? I'm honestly struggling to think of any. Victoria Spartz has some libertarian streaks, but otherwise, I really can't think of anybody truly libertarian or libertarian-ish. And then going to a governor, Ron DeSantis, but even he is not libertarian by any stretch. He's much more, more in favor of foreign interventionism. I'm not going to call him a neocon, but he's voiced those types of sentiments. Now, candidly, I thought I was more favorable of Ron DeSantis. I spoke about that back when I was on Tim Pool's show, Timcast, back in 2022, I believe. And we were talking about at the time, it was the Don't Say Gay bill. And I think Ron DeSantis really, he was at that time, and I would say still is, one of the most effective governors in America. So his approach is much more in a libertarian ethos. He just talked about gutting property tax, right? But Jeremy Kauffman just posted this over on Twitter. And I think Jeremy's got a really good point, because there was a person who had responded to the Libertarian National Party who was announcing that they were running a gentleman named Mike Maines for governor of Ohio in 2028. And listen, I get it. I understand that, for some states, for example, you have to run a candidate in order to maintain ballot access in certain examples. But when we're looking at what we're trying to accomplish in terms of tangible outcomes, I'm sorry, but it doesn't make sense to run a libertarian against arguably one of the best libertarian Republicans that we would have in elected office, both in terms of just a national profile, but someone who'd actually be effective. I know there's a lot of folks who don't like Vivek for his H-1B stuff, but in general, I think Vivek would be a very effective governor. And basically, guys, you know how I approach elections, right? I'm not dogmatic. I'm not just going to go by whatever letter they have next to their name. My basic rule is simple. We're trying to get wins, right? We're not trying to get purity trophies. So if a Republican is meaningfully advancing at least these 4 areas, smaller government in general, fewer regulations, they're not in favor of war, which doesn't really pertain anything here in the state example. But if they're, again, more for an individual autonomy across the board, I would say, those are candidates I'm going to be more in favor of. So just running a spoiler candidate just to say, yeah, we ran someone. Okay. And imagine, for example, right, Thomas Massie. This is my Thomas Massie test for you. If Thomas Massie's in the ballot, right, I don't care what letter his name is, what is next to his name, right? His voting record is impeccable. He is consistent and he has results, right? He actually holds folks accountable. Now granted, he's had one bill, right? The Epstein files release. That was the big bill he's gotten through. But beyond that, people argue he's ineffective. But no, he's effective at being a thorn in the side of big government, which is his job as a small L libertarian in Congress. And back during COVID, right, he was one of the biggest thorns in the side of Trump because he was saying that this stimulus package we're going to pass, to this COVID relief package, it's going to exacerbate inflation and it's going to hammer us for years to come. Fast forward to where we are today. Where are we at? Oh, inflation really sucks, eh? Yes, a part of it is due to Biden's policies. Yes, a part of it is due to inflation. But a lot of it is also due to Trump. It's due to Trump's excessive spending. It's due to Trump's going through and just giving all the cash to folks in handouts. It's his tariff policies, which, again, I've been arguing that if they were being used as a negotiation tool, 2 thumbs up. But just to say tariffs for the sake of tariffs, it's goofball. Sorry. No, absolutely not. But when I look at Thomas Massie, if the Libertarians ran a candidate against Thomas Massie, imagine how stupid that would be, right? You're running a candidate just to say you're running a candidate. It makes you feel good. No, that's bad. No bueno. I would rather make sure that we're trying to make things better. So when Libertarians refuse to compromise strategically, what they're really saying to folks is, I would rather feel right and I would rather feel high and mighty for voting for my libertarianism and my philosophy versus in actually objectively making things better, right? And this is important, tangibly making things objectively better. Because if your entire philosophy is based in idealism, right, and utopianism versus practicality, then I'm sorry, that mindset is going to guarantee you permanent irrelevance in the mind share of any American voter. But I digress. We're going to go off of the political battles and go more into the cultural battlefield now with the NFL.
When they threw it to you on the Bijan, they threw it to you in the backfield. You made the first one miss, dead leg 3 feet. You know what I said? Oh, this boy threw up in the back. Yo!
Hey, spirit of queer. That's what we do. Kill the carrier.
What is it about you on Thursday night?
So the Falcons beat the Buccaneers 29-28 last night. And after the game, Bijan Robinson references the childhood football game that included a slur, which, as you heard, there was the game Smear the Queer. And, of course, social media exploded. He apologized, but that was never enough. It never is enough. You have to be crucified because you said something bad. And, I mean, the thing here that I just want to emphasize is the insanity that which the LGBT approach to trying to police speech has gotten to where it is today. People played Smear the Queer when they were kids. That was a game that we played. It's not meant to be derogatory. It's not meant to be discriminatory, or it's not meant to be a slur. It's a game, right? It was a game. It was, and the term meant, just like you were the loser. That was what it meant. Just the fact that it turned into such a hubbubaloo over hubbubaloo, whatever that word is, over on X is just insane. Bijan Robinson did nothing wrong. He's a great running back. And the Buccaneers, what just happened? They lost to the Falcons. So somewhere up in North Charlotte, the Panthers are celebrating. But yeah, I guess, as we go ahead and wrap things up today, healthcare, philosophy, politics, culture, the pattern is the same. When systems prioritize rules over people, signaling over outcomes, or purity over progress, everyone loses. Liberty only works when it's grounded in responsibility and reality, not Dogma. All right. So which one of these stories do you think best shows how broken our priorities are right now? Head down below into the comments if you're joining us here on YouTube, Rumble, or Twitter, Facebook, wherever it may be, because, of course, we do air our episodes every Monday, Thursday, and Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. So let us know your thoughts down below and which one of these stories you think really shows, again, how broken down our priorities are right now. Let us know your thoughts. Otherwise, if you'd like to take your podcasts on the go, head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, or wherever it is you consume your podcast content. Just search The Brian Nichols Show, hit that subscribe button, and oh, by the way, we have over 1,000 episodes here of The Brian Nichols Show, so go back, search your favorite topic in the archives. I guarantee at least a handful of episodes will pop up that will be, for sure, leaving you educated, enlightened, and informed. And by the way, folks, if you want to go ahead and follow yours truly over on X, Facebook, or Instagram, you can follow me at bnicholsliberty. And one more thing, if you want to support the show, there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can either go ahead and give us a one-time donation, and if you do that, thank you very much. Otherwise, you can go ahead and support the folks who support us, and that is our phenomenal sponsors like our studio sponsor, Cardio Miracle, cardiomiracle.com/TBNS, or we have some other phenomenal sponsors. If Cardio Miracle isn't necessarily up your alley, head over there and you can check out Ebel's CBD, Liquid Freedom Energy Tea, and Blood of Tyrants Wine over, again, at briannichols.com/sponsors. But with that being said, I think we're going to go ahead and put a pin in today's conversation. This was our Friday wrap-up of some news highlights that were leading the news waves over on X. So, folks, thank you for joining us today. And with that being said, have a very happy Friday. Brian Nichols signing off here on The Brian Nichols Show. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to The Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.